When I was a kid, the train size we had was called HO.
Oh, okay, so that's probably it.
So I don't know, I'm guessing that's an HO, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. I have no idea about trains.
I don't either.
Nice to meet you.
Between the services. Good morning. Bob, what's my name? Barry. My name is Barry London, and good morning to everybody, and welcome to the University Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Greetings to everyone who is participating on YouTube, and welcome particularly to our visitors, whether virtual or real. We're going to move now to committee moments, and I invite everyone who has something to inform us from our committee to come up, and we have a mic right here. If you cannot come up, let me know. I can bring a mic to you. David?
Hi, David McElroy. Tomorrow night, Monday, there is the men's support group here at the church, 6:30. Bring potluck, it's potluck, or bring your own. And if you haven't come and you want to talk to me about it, I'll be here after church. That's tomorrow. Wait. Okay, never mind. I lied. It's going to be in March. See, I had a flat tire, so I don't know.
And I have no memory.
Good morning, everyone. How many of you are aware that we're having an auction in about a month? Excellent. How many of you are planning on contributing an item for the silent auction? Very good, very good. How many of you are planning on contributing a service? Okay, good. Well, that's not bad. That's not bad. Yeah, this is an effort to raise money for the church. It's a fundraiser, and it should be a fun fundraiser. But of course, we need all your help in terms of contributing items. Okay. For example, David and Marilyn are going to do 3 sessions of improvisation. That's it. That's easy for you to say. And a lot of these items will be auctioned. For example, I'm providing a beer tasting party. I'm not doing that. There'll be a, quote, expert here, and we'll taste maybe 10 different beers. We did this a couple of years ago on Scotch, and Martha got completely whacked out. I had to drive her home. So there will, an item like that, same thing. People will sign up for $25, and we'll have a real nice party here. So think about that. We need all your help in order to make this work. And I think that's all I have to say.
Hi, Lori Hospitality. Joey's continuing to get lots of volunteers, or enough volunteers, to do the coffee in the morning, which I think you all appreciate. I could use some more snacks for the future, so if you could see me after service, if you'd like to bring a snack so we can get a date so that we get a constant flow instead of too much and too little. But then there's always a couple of plates that are very nice and left in there. So if you own this plate, please come by the kitchen and pick it up.
Jill Vita. So our Seder is going to be April 7th here. So think about what you want to bring. No ham, please, or pork, please. But other than that, yeah, I mean, just we don't mind other things, but no pork. So just think about it. Save the date. It'll probably be about 6 o'clock here.
Thank you, Jill. Good morning, Kelly Buchanan, the Marketing Committee. My announcement is that the Orlando Gay Chorus will be performing at our sister church, 1U, on March the 11th, which is a Saturday, from 8 until, I think it's 8 until 10. So we actually have provided more information on our Facebook page where you can actually purchase tickets. Tickets are $20. I think they're going to be on sale until March the 6th. We are also trying to get a group of people to have dinner around 6 o'clock before the show. So if you're interested in that, let me know so I can make reservations. Thank you.
John Mowbray on behalf of Facilities and Grounds, and usually we do workday every third Saturday of the month, but because of some vacations, probably a spring break, I think, we're not going to hold it on the 18th, which is actually my birthday as well. So anyway. Yeah, but we're not going to have, we're just not going to do it on the 18th. We are going to do it on the 11th, though. So a week early. If you can come out and help out, we would definitely appreciate it. Anything you can do inside, outside. Everybody always gives me a hard time, but if you like to pull weeds, come pull weeds. But anyway, from 9 to 12, if you can come out and spare 3 hours, 30 minutes, whatever you can, please come by. All right, thanks. I'm sorry? March 11th.
So we work in the morning and then we play. And then we go to the
That's right. Yeah, you could do that. Yeah. All right.
I'm Kathy Cowden, and my thunder was a bit taken from Roy because I was requested to talk about the auction as well by Lindsay, who couldn't be here today. But I have a little bit of different information. And when we looked at the auction that first you had, they had 60 pages, 30 on both sides, listed item by item by item. They had 6,000 entries. Now, I understand they're quite a bit bigger than we are, but I thought maybe I'd read a few of the type of things that they donated and that didn't really cost much or anything that people came up with. So, sorry, but I can't really hold it and this.
Hold the mic or your papers?
Thank you, Ann. No, I need the papers here. I'm just going to show you a couple of items that, well, a few. Like somebody donated a small staghorn fern. I suppose they had one in their yard they could get rid of, and I thought that's kind of a nice item. 5 cranberry loaves. Here's a trivia brunch. Here's an American Sign Language lesson. This one is a backyard chili party. I mean, you can see there's hundreds and hundreds of them in here, but playing the piano at a daytime event. Somebody has that talent. 3 hours of yard work. I don't know what they...
How much did that go for? Anyway,
I don't know. It says 150. Custom painting. Somebody has a custom painting. There's 3 hours of home or office organization, 4 hours of window washing. And this is the best one that they came up with, and I'm sure we could outdo this. Choose a sermon topic with the Reverend. That would be.
We're choosing hair color instead. That's
No, it's in addition.
in addition.
This is an additional item. So please give some thought to it. I do have some forms that you can write on if you're not technical and want to do it online, like it's available that way. Or just let me know and I'll write it down for you. And please be a part of it because it makes the auction much more fun the more items we have. There's going to be a live auction on the actual day of the event, which is April 16th, the Sunday after Easter. But the week before is going to be the silent auction. So we need items for both. Thanks.
It's okay. I'm just here to remind you that we have our quarterly meeting after the service today. We will, thanks to Lori, we have finger sandwiches for the adults to snack on, so you won't be like, oh my gosh, when is this going to end? I'm starving. And there'll be some pizza for the kids in the back, so and childcare, obviously. So please stay.
Good morning, guys. My name is Jules. I'm here on behalf of Women's Group. We are meeting this Friday. We missed the newsletter cutoff, so sorry. We're meeting this Friday at 6:30. It's going to be 6:30 to 8:30, roughly. And we're doing just fun little crafts. We're going to do coloring. Me and my mom are going to bring plenty of supplies. If you want to bring your own, you are welcome to. But this Friday, March 3rd at 6:30.
Thanks to all for the work being done on our committees. Next will be the opening words, and this connects to our service that will be later by our minister on Love Will Guide Us. The opening words: justice requires that people have what they need in order to lead sufficiently good lives. People need to be loved and to be able to love at least sometimes and to some degree in order to lead sufficiently good lives. Love is a matter of justice. So we will move now to our opening music. This will be hymn number 298. One of my favorites, Wake Now My Senses. It's by Thomas Mickelson. It's a traditional Irish melody. And we're going to be led by none other than Reverend Michael Richards, with piano by Alicia Tron. Alicia, thank you.
It's hymn number 298. It's a great old Irish melody, so we're going to sing the first 3 verses.
Thanks, everyone. That was great. And so it's time for lighting of the chalice. And we have an assistant this morning, and that will be Ethan. Answers to he and him. He is 7, and he just got to drive on an O-scale train. I had an HO train when I was young, but I couldn't drive it. We can do another one. Let's do another one. You got it? Yep. All right. Join with me, please. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. And our affirmation also, please join with me. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. So here's that moment for us to welcome our guest, and we are so happy to see everyone here that is a guest today. I see a lot of faces that I don't recognize, but I see smiles on most of those faces, and I look forward to greeting y'all perhaps after the service, and we certainly invite everyone here to do the same. In fact, I would invite everybody now to take a moment and say hello to your neighbor. Our services are diverse, including presentations from a wide variety of speakers in the area, including our own UU members, as well as addresses by our minister, which is what we will have today, Tracie Barrett. And now, for joys and concerns, those things that weigh heavily upon you or inspire you, we invite you to come up and share with us. And if we have anybody that is going to address virtually, we will have that message also. If you can't come up, please raise your hand because we can bring that mic to you.
Hi, I'm Anastasia, and I have a joy that yesterday I watched the 3rd movie of Pirates in the Caribbean.
Hi, Joey Cole. I'm reporting that one of our cherished members, Harvey Lerman, fell and had to be taken to the hospital. I do not have details about the hospital or whatever, but I just wanted you all to know, and we'll be contacting Roberta and offering whatever help we can. So, thank you.
Hi, Miak. I have 2 things, 2 joys. One, I donated blood this past week, and I asked, how much have I donated? Because they don't offer that normally. And she said 11 gallons that I've donated. That seems like a lot to me. And I put together an IKEA 6-drawer dresser, essentially by myself, close to by myself, except for about 10 minutes of help. So I thought that was good.
Hi, Hi, my name is Chase, and I ride my bike this weekend on the the grass, and I said, "Oh, there's Chet's yard." I went all the way back.
Hi, Jules again. I am starting next week. So I've been working in childcare, but next week I officially start like shadowing a teacher in the VPK class with like 4 and 5-year-olds, and I'm really nervous, but I'm also really excited because it's like my first time with an official class, and whoa, yeah.
I'm Paula. I wish I had something happier to say. It's been a year, and I'm still wearing yellow over blue for Ukraine.
I guess it was a concern. My aunt, who would have, she was 97 and a half, she passed away peacefully February 13th, and her service was Friday. That's the altar flowers, or the table flowers are from her tables. You know what, when they were talking about it, it was in United Methodist Church, so pretty formal service, but she had been a member of that community for 72 years. And it just struck me as amazing for someone. The last, 5 to 6, she hasn't been as active because she's 97, and she fell a lot. But I just thought that was pretty amazing, and I wish I'd thought to ask her before whether it was all just, rainbows and lollipops, and I'm sure it wasn't. And I just thought that was pretty amazing. So as we think about our quarterly meeting, we can think about 72 years.
Kelly Buchanan, have a joy and a concern. My joy is I just want to thank all of those who showed up yesterday for the UUUF Trailblazer hike. I thought we had a really good time. We had a wonderful picnic afterwards, and it was just great to get outdoors, with the people that you're with, here at church, so it was fun. My concern is that my mother, who is 80, is having open heart surgery this coming Friday, March the 3rd. 90% chance of a good outcome. They're going to either replace or repair her tricuspid valve. So just please keep her and me in your thoughts and prayers, and Miak as well, but we'll be her caregivers for a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Hi, Chloe Hatfield, and I have a concern and also kind of asking for advice as well. So I live in a shared, duplex kind of situation, and my house is connected to another family by their wall. Unfortunately, especially recently, my peace has been disturbed by lots of loud noises coming from the other neighbor's house, whether it be blaring music, their children playing ball and hitting it against the fence that is shared to us, or even just their wall, but it also, rings through our wall as well. And it's been getting more and more, and that's just a concern that I have, that this is something that I'm dealing with. It's getting to where, I can't sleep properly because in the morning, really early in the morning, they're blaring loud music, or their kid just this morning at 8 o'clock heard the ball hit the fence, and I'm just like, okay, what am I going to do about this? I got to be, calm, cool, collected. But what do I do? And so if there's anybody that would like to talk to me afterwards to give me advice on how to handle this, in a very UU way, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
And now it is time for the time for all ages. Joey?
Good morning. Again. The title of this story is Samantha Writes a Letter. And this is a story, it says a few years ago, but it actually takes place in 1982. But it's a really interesting letter. that is talked about here, so I'm going to read it to you. A few years ago, a 10-year-old fifth grader surprised the world by writing a letter to the leader of the Soviet Union and getting an answer. Her name was Samantha Smith. She lived on a farm in Maine with her mother and father and Kim, a Chesapeake Bay retriever. Sometimes she went to the Unitarian Universalist church school. Samantha watched the TV news and she got worried about nuclear warfare. This was in November 1982 when Yuri Andropov had just come into power in the Soviet Union. And the news was full of questions about whether he would start a war. Samantha decided to write to Mr. Andropov, sorry, I don't pronounce Russian very well, and tell him how she felt. So she got out her notebook paper and began. First, she congratulated him on his new position. Then she asked him about nuclear war and about whether he wanted to conquer the whole world. She showed the letter to her parents, and they agreed she should send it. Lots of other people write to the Soviet leaders all the time, and most of their letters go unanswered. Samantha's parents told her she probably would not get a reply from Mr. Andropov, but for some reason, her letter was different. And in April of 1983, parts of Samantha's letter were reprinted in Pravda, the Soviet newspaper, and she got a letter back. He wrote that people in the Soviet Union were doing everything so that there would be no war between our two countries. He promised his country would never be the first to use nuclear weapons. Best of all, he invited Samantha to come and visit the Soviet Union. So that summer, Samantha and her father and mother flew to Moscow, where they were taken to see all the sights. They also visited Leningrad, and Samantha got to go to summer camp with Soviet boys and girls. That was the best part of all, Samantha thought. She liked the other kids she met, and they were very friendly with her. And she didn't get to meet Mr. Andropov because he was ill at the time, but he sent her home with several nice presents, including a Russian, I'm going to mess this one up, samovar and tea service. Okay. You can imagine how excited Samantha was and how proud her parents were. The news got around to almost everyone. American and foreign newspapers printed Samantha's picture and the story of her letter and her trip. And with her father, she wrote a book about the trip. With her mother, she went to Japan to speak at a children's meeting. She was invited to be on TV, and she even got a part in a new TV series. Everywhere she went, she talked about world peace. Unfortunately, her story has an unhappy ending. In 1985, she and her father were flying home from filming one of the TV shows when their plane crashed, and everyone on it was killed. However, Samantha's mother is determined to carry on the peace work that her daughter began. She has started a foundation to give money to various peace projects in Samantha's name. One of the projects is a summer camp in her home state of Maine, where teenage boys and girls from all over the world work and play together and learn about each other. It's called the Samantha Smith World Peace Camp. The campers believe that if 12 of them, Americans, Russians, Japanese, and South Americans, can maintain peace in a one-room cabin, then international leaders ought to be able to keep peace in the world. Samantha would have loved it. And the last thing here is, to us Unitarian Universalists, peace is a very important thing. It is important for there to be peace inside of us, peace in our communities, peace in the world. Helping peace to come to the whole world is a big job, but there are many thousands of people in the world today who are working hard to bring peace. If you know of any of these peacemakers, some of them are here in this very community, writing letters and holding meetings to figure out ways to let our government officials and the leaders of other nations know that we don't want war or nuclear weapons. Millions of people in this country have written letters and visited the places where weapons are kept to let everyone know that we are for peace. But working against war is only one part of making peace. Many, many other groups around the world work to try to give food, medicine, shelter, and clothing to everyone who needs it. They believe that peace can't really come to the world while so many of its people are poor, sick, and hungry. All of these organizations, from our local hunger center to UNICEF, which helps children all around the world, are peacemakers too. We can all be peacemakers, but how? Any ideas? Writing letters, as Samantha did, is a good way to let people know how we feel. I wonder how our elected leaders in Tallahassee would feel about a bunch of letters from children asking them not to pass the open carry. Just wonder. Who are the people who need to know how we feel about peace? World leaders, government officials, newspapers, PTAs, congregations, community groups. Let's write some letters to let everyone know, to let these folks and everyone know how we feel about peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. For our interlude and our offering, we are going to share the plate with ACLU Foundation of Florida. And we have music from Gymno PD number 1, Eric Sadi. For the children's recessional, please join us. We love you and bless you and send you on your way. We love you and bless you today and every day. A lot of children going back there today. It's now time for our presentation, and today we have the great fortune of having our minister speak to us, Rev Tracie Barrett. Thank you.
The Reverend Dr. Michael Tino, part of the lead ministry team at the Church of the Larger Fellowship, said this recently. One of the defining characteristics of our Unitarian Universalist faith is that ours is a living tradition. We do not etch our faith in stone precisely because we hold sacred that it must change. It must adapt to new challenges, it must meet new understandings, and it must evolve based on new experiences and connections. Our Unitarian Universalist faith is able to adapt and grow and change precisely because it is a living tradition. And it has, since before we were a merged denomination known as Unitarian Universalists. Prior to 1961, our ancestors were part of two denominations or faith traditions, the Universalists and the Unitarians. These two traditions were bound together by covenants and common things they held, including some theology at the time. For example, we have this from one of our Unitarian ancestors in 1887 titled, "Things Commonly Believed Among Us." It reads, "We believe that to love the good and to live the good is the supreme thing in religion. We hold reason and conscience to be the final authorities in matters of religious belief. We honor the Bible and all inspiring scripture, old and new. We revere Jesus and all holy souls that have taught men truth and righteousness and love as prophets of religion. We believe," they were wordy, we were Unitarians. Whew. "We believe in the growing nobility of man. We trust the unfolding universe as beautiful, beneficent, unchanging order. To know this order is truth. To obey it is right and liberty and stronger life. We believe that good and evil invariably carry their own recompense, no good thing being failure and no evil thing success, that heaven and hell are states of being, that no evil can befall the good man in either life or death, that all things work together for the victory of the good. We believe that we ought to join hands and work to make the good things better and the worst good, counting nothing good for self that is not good for all." Still going. "We believe that this self-forgetting, loyal life awakes in man the sense of union here and now with things eternal, the sense of deathlessness, and this sense is to us an earnest of the life to come. We worship one in all, that life whence suns and stars derive their orbits, and the soul of man its ought, that light which lighteth every man that cometh into the world, giving us the power to become the sons of God, that love with which our souls commune." So that was our Unitarian ancestors in 1887. Yes. And in 1936, so still Unitarians, not joined yet, there was a new statement. And this one, because we like a lot of words, was called the Statement of Doctrinal Agreement and Tensions. It says, "Unitarians agree in affirming the primacy of the free exercise of intelligence in religion, believing that in the long run the safest guide to truth is human intelligence, in affirming the paramount importance for the individual of his own moral convictions and purpose, in affirming that the social implications of religion are indispensable to its vitality and validity, as expressed in terms of concern for social conditions and the struggle to create a just social order, in affirming the importance of the church as the organized expression of religion, in affirming the necessity for worship as a deliberate effort to strengthen the individual's grasp of the highest spiritual values of which he is aware, in affirming the rational nature of the universe." Definite change in language, right? Still pretty wordy. Woo, we love our words. In 1960, in preparation for the merger that officially took place in 1961, the American Unitarian Association and the Universalist Church of America got together and came up with this. "In accordance with these corporate purposes, the members of the Unitarian Universalist Association, dedicated to the principles of a free faith, unite in seeking, 1, to strengthen one another in a free and disciplined search for truth as the foundation of our religious fellowship. 2, to cherish and spread the universal truths taught by the great prophets and teachers of humanity in every age and tradition, immemorially summarized in the Judeo-Christian heritage as love to God and love to man. 3, to affirm, defend, and promote the supreme worth of every human personality, the dignity of man, and the use of the democratic method in human relationships. 4, to implement our vision of one world by striving for a world community founded on ideals of brotherhood, justice, and peace. 5, to serve the needs of member churches and fellowships, to organize new churches and fellowships, and to extend and strengthen liberal religion. 6, to encourage cooperation with men of goodwill in every land. So we start to see here the beginnings of our own principles, the current 7 principles that we have. This statement and these principles resided in our bylaws as an association of covenanted congregations. Now, before you think this was an easy thing, it was not. We are Unitarian Universalists after all. And it took 57 amendments to get it to that point that everyone could agree on. 57 amendments. And if you have ever watched amendments happen, that was a long time. That was a lot of sitting during a general meeting. And those principles stood as our principles until the mid-'80s. So in 1985, there was a need to revisit our principles. And if you notice in the language, there was a lot of male-centered language. And in the 80s, we went, let's maybe not do that. So we wanted to remove the male-centered language and become more inclusive and to add the 7th principle. So these are the principles we all know by heart, right? We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another, and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, the right of conscience, and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, and respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. So this is what we've had. Now, other than a tweak here and there, these are the principles that Unitarian Universalists have held since then. And a couple of years ago, there was a proposal for the addition of the 8th principle, which reads, we, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote, so that's the part that was at the beginning, journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. Now, we talked about this one last year, how it was brought to us by our siblings of color who said they need us to make a statement, much like our siblings asked us in 1963 after our merger, and we didn't. But other than that addition, which had a lot of conversation, we have not made any other changes. How many of you have only been UUs from 1985 up till now? Okay, so like for most of you, this is the only UU principles you know, right? If you've came in since 1985, this is what you know. James Luther Adams, UU theologian, said, a living tradition is not bequeathed through some law of inheritance. It must be earned, not without dust and heat, and not without humbling grace. Well, what does that mean? Well, much like Reverend Tino said, ours is not a tradition written in stone. It means we can and should adapt to the changing times to draw the circle wider. And we have. We have done real work and continue to do real work around anti-racism, anti-oppression, multiculturalism. We work and continue to work on drawing the circle wide when it comes to our LGBTQIA+ siblings. And a few years ago, we removed gendered language in the UUA bylaws completely, not without conversation. A lot of conversation. I was there for it in person. It was a lot of conversation. But Reverend Kristen Grassel-Schmidt said recently about our living tradition, no matter how revolutionary their origins, institutions by nature settle into systems that perpetuate the way things have always been. And this is why the bylaws charge the UUA with revisiting Article 2 every 15 years, so that our principles don't become some unmovable, unchangeable thing. And now here we are. The Article 2 Study Commission was formed in 2020. Great time to take on something like that, right? Who knew? Oh, and in case you didn't know, Article 2 refers to the location in the bylaws where our purpose, principles, and sources reside. So when we say Article 2, it is literally Article 2 of our bylaws of the UUA. The commission was formed and tasked with reviewing and potentially rewriting this section of our bylaws. And rewriting of bylaws happens with many groups. In fact, our own board here has been working on bylaw revision because there are things in our bylaws and not in our bylaws, like a minister, that need to be addressed. So this is natural. The study commission began doing surveys right away and hosting theological panels in 2021 so that they could understand the values and sources of inspiration that Unitarian Universalists shared. Not an easy task in a pluralistic faith tradition. Since 2020, the Commission has engaged in 45 feedback sessions with 4,611 participants. Videos that they have produced have reached 7,765 viewers, and their 29 surveys garnered a total of 10,925 responses. Recently, they released their report to the UUA board and to the member congregations of the UUA, of which we are one. We were invited to read through it 3 times, to give the opportunity for the, whoa, that's different, to pass. And then a chance to dig in. So today we're going to dig in a bit. Here's the beginning part. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant, congregation to congregation and through our association, to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Inseparable from one another, these shared values are interdependence, pluralism, justice, transformation, generosity, and equity. Now, as you can see in this image that they came up with, love is held in the center, the flame of our chalice guiding the work we do. But what do we make of this love? Reverend Susan Frederick Gray has said this about love. It calls us to courage to continually grow and learn and adapt in ways that foster love and justice. It is not a weak or sentimental love. It burns like the fire at the center of our chalice. It is fierce in a way that compels us to demand justice in our world, but also fierce in how it calls us to courageous conversations, to radical practices of welcome, compassion, forgiveness, and belonging. Ruha Benjamin, in her book Viral Justice, How We Grow the World We Want, said this about love. Love, I now believe, is the brick, mortar, foundation, and pillar of the world we're trying to build, where we can be vulnerable but not exposed. With love guiding us at our center, let us look deeper into these shared values. Interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence. We covenant to cherish Earth and all beings by creating and nurturing relationships of care and respect. With humility and reverence, we acknowledge our place in the great web of life, and we work to repair harm and damaged relationships. Pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. Justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions. Transformation. We adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect. Generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. Equity. We declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. A neat thing that I see in this proposed language is that not only are all of our 7th and 8th principles embedded in the new proposed language, and if you were there for when they were talking about redoing the 7th principle, 7th or the 1st, about changing to include all beings, not just humans, that's in there too. We also have a centered covenant. Notice how every value not only has what we lift up, but also how we put that into action in our covenants with one another. Just like we here at UUUF covenant with one another when we become members here, as a congregation, we have covenanted with other UUA congregations. And it is these covenants that actually create the UUA. And the new language reminds us of that. We are a covenantal faith. It is our promises that we make to one another, the promises we sometimes break, and how we go about remaking those covenants that makes us Unitarian Universalists. And this is lifted up in the sections after the shared values are listed. Remember, Article 2 holds a bit more than just the 7 principles and the 6 sources. Here is the rest of the proposed changes to Article 2. So after that section, Section C-2.3, Inspirations. See, it's the bylaws, so it's going to have the section numbers. As Unitarian Universalists, we use and are inspired by sacred and secular understandings that help us live into our values. We respect the histories, contexts, and cultures in which they were created and are currently practiced. These sources ground us and sustain us in ordinary, difficult, and joyous times. Grateful for the religious ancestries we inherit and the diversity which enriches our faith, we are called to ever deepen and expand our wisdom. Section C 2.4, Inclusion. Systems of power, privilege, and oppression have traditionally created barriers for persons and groups with particular identities, ages, abilities, and histories. We pledge to replace such barriers with the ever-widening circles of solidarity and mutual respect. We strive to be an association of congregations that truly welcome all persons who share our values. We commit to being an association of congregations that empowers and enhances everyone's participation, especially those with historically marginalized identities. And I want to pause here and remind you, in 1963, we wanted language like that in our bylaws, and we didn't do it, and here it is. Section C-2.5, freedom of belief. Very important for our UUs. Freedom of belief, it's what we stand on. Congregational freedom and the individual's right of conscience are central to our Unitarian Universalist heritage. Congregations may establish statements of purpose, covenants, and bonds of union so long as they do not require that members adhere to a particular creed. That has been embedded in our histories. Those of you who've taken my class know this was something that goes way back to the beginning founding of Universalism and Unitarianism, that freedom of belief and that ability to make one's own decisions are inherent in who we are. The Commission concluded their proposal with these words: we recognize the fact that the proposed version of Article 2 we have presented is indeed a significant departure from our current version, just as past changes to Article 2 were significant changes for their predecessors. The 1985 version, which first introduced the principles, was a radical change from the purposes and objectives of the previous version. We are continuing in the line of proposing changes that fit with the times in which we live. We fully expect that one day another commission will review our work and significantly change it. We are writing this in pencil, not etching it in stone. Reverend Sue Phillips, in a workshop at General Assembly in 2015, well before this current conversation around Article 2 began, said this: the congregational way can help all of us discover the way forward, even in the wide world beyond congregations. Unitarian Universalist polity is essential to who we are precisely because our theology is so broad. Without some kind of vital, clear center around which we convene ourselves, we will not hold. The ways we choose to connect with one another is our center. If Unitarian Universalism is going to survive in the coming time, much less thrive, our center must hold. I believe our center is love. not just hearts and candy and squishy feelings love, but that love that shows itself in the public square as justice. We are known as the love people. We wear our bright yellow Side with Love shirts and are out there all over the nation fighting the good fight to bring love and justice to this world. I mean, we're kind of superheroes, people. Come on. Now, here's the thing. I know not everyone likes the new language. I get it. The current Article 2 is the only one I know, too. And change is hard. This is not set in place yet. As an association, we will gather this year and next year at our General Assembly to discuss this year and vote next year. We will be having some conversations here at UUF where we want to hear your thoughts and questions and ideas, additions, subtractions, or if you're like, I'm good with it, but we need to hear from you. You see, this congregation will send 2 delegates to the General Assembly besides me, who will represent this congregation's thoughts on the matter. So I encourage you, look at the report, read over it, sit with it, see what it brings up for you. I will make sure the link is in Notable News this week, and you can always simply search for Article 2, UUA, and it comes right up. It's the very first thing to find it. As I close, I want to share these words from my colleague, Reverend Sarah Lawal. She created this from the words of the proposed Article 2 language. Spirit of life and love, holy mystery, may we hear the voices of the past, mingled with the voices of today, guiding us into the future, into our own becoming, with purpose and principle toward liberation for all people, with love as our common calling. Let us hold love at the center. May we continue to cherish the earth with humility and reverence. Honoring our place in the interdependent web, let us hold love at the center. May we celebrate all sacred beings, diverse in culture and theology, learning from one another and embracing difference in our search for truth and meaning. Let us hold love at the center. May we keep reaching for belovedness, for diverse multicultural community, for the collective thriving of all people, where all voices are heard, as we work to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. Let us hold love at the center. May we welcome transformation, seeking spiritual growth, adapting to our changing world, evolving in this living tradition, never complete, never perfect. Let us hold love at the center. May we cultivate a spirit of generosity, of gratitude and hope, freely and compassionately sharing our faith, our presence, our resources, centering connection and relationships of mutuality. Let us hold love at the center. May we always declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent worth and dignity. May we recommit to one another with our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. Let us hold love at the center. Let us keep love at the center, now and always. As we navigate these next couple of years, may we remember that ours is a living tradition, and may we remember who we are. May love guide us in everything we do. Amen. Blessed be, and may it ever be so. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Tracie. I can see sometime perhaps in the future a new panel here, a new banner with this. We now need to extinguish the chalice, and if you will join with me, we extinguish this flame.
And not the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. These we bear in our hearts until we are together again.
I now have 4 fingers. And another song I love as much as Wake Now My Senses, We'll Build the Land. Thank you, Janet.
Please rise as you're willing and able. We'll be singing verses 1, 2, and 4 of this. A lot of us already know this, so enjoy.
Thank you, Janet. It is worth noting that love and justice are important virtues in human life, and as such should be practiced by all. They do not come easily, however, especially justice, and thus sacrifice should be made in order to obtain justice. They are intimately related, and hence the absence of one or both makes life terrible. We should all advocate for love and timely justice. And now, thank you. We have a postlude, and following the postlude, which is entitled Thy Word, we will conclude the service, and we will have a brief moment and share some sandwiches. And
11:45 at the latest.
11:45 will be our quarterly meeting. Thank you.